Welcome back, everyone. Michael here with Offshore Citizen. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about the subject of are digital nomads freeloaders, or something along that nature. I had a comment on one of our videos recently where somebody was asking a little bit about, hey, what do you think about the idea that digital nomads will go to these various different countries and not pay taxes? So I'd love to hear you guys' opinion about it. Put it in the comments below. Let me know what you think. And then we're going to see how your opinions and my opinions align. The thing that I'm especially interested in hearing from you is less about yes or no and more about what your reasoning is. I always think that the reasoning is much more interesting than the answer itself, because then we can dissect and figure out, is there validity to where that idea is coming from or not. So I'll share with you my reasoning right now. Before we get started, if you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button, hit the all notification button. Merry Christmas to all of you guys. Really appreciate you supporting us throughout the year. It's been a wonderful year in lots of different regards. And if you'd like help with the subjects we deal with here, international tax optimization, asset protection, forming companies, opening bank accounts, getting residencies and citizenships around the world, please reach out to me. You can book a call, calendly.com/Michael-Rosmer, link in the description below. And you can send a message through our websites, offshorecitizen.net and offshorecapitalist.com. Okay, so the premise is quite simple, right? You have people who go and live part of the year in countries. They might spread their time between multiple different countries and not pay income tax in any of those countries. And as a result, is that sort of a freeloading thing? Now, I'm going to give a few different perspectives on that. So the first is the idea that digital nomads inherently are not contributing is really false. I mean, in most of these countries, there's VAT or some sort of sales or consumption tax. So there's taxes being paid in that regard. And this goes for indirect taxes that you might not see as well. For example, if I go and take taxis or Ubers, the gasoline is having tax applied to it. So there's taxes coming in from there. If you're staying at hotels, then there's taxes that are paid there. If you're, using real estate, there's real estate taxes that are generally being collected. So it's an inaccuracy to suggest that personal income tax represents even a small share, well, not a small share, but the majority, I would say, even the majority of the taxes. In fact, in a bunch of places, I think personal income tax only represents something like a third, some places less, some places more, depends, of the overall revenues. Okay, so there's a little bit of a misnomer there in terms of how these contributions work. Okay, so that's point number one, is that there is contribution financially to the government and the infrastructure, et cetera, through these methods. Number two is the fact that there are contributions to the economy through spending, et cetera. So if I go and I stay in an Airbnb, well, somebody owns that Airbnb, probably a local who's making money at that. If I stay in a hotel, same thing. Although in that case, maybe you're staying in a big name brand hotel and funds are going to a foreign entity, fair enough. You can play that argument for sure, and there's validity to that argument. Then you go and you eat food, you're going and you're probably buying various different goods and services, possibly paying people to clean, to whatever, right? So there is definitely a financial contribution that goes directly to the hands of locals that wouldn't be there otherwise, all right? So I don't think you should underestimate that contribution. Third, and perhaps most important, is we can tell in the incentive structures how this works out. And so just consider this. Countries are fully able to set whatever policies they want. In other words, if they wanted to say, listen, we think that these people who are coming here and just visiting as tourists are getting a free ride, we could raise consumption tax, we could raise tourism tax, we could raise taxes at airports, we could apply we could say, hey, under certain circumstances, we're going to charge visa fees or, different things like that would directly tax those people disproportionately versus others. And they could also change their policies to make it more difficult for people to come and stay in the country. And, that would indicate that they felt the balance was disproportionately poor to the locals. But in fact, we see exactly the opposite. Countries are working harder than ever to attract tourists, and they're working harder than ever to attract digital nomads. Look at how many digital nomad visas have been implemented in the last year and a half. It's a lot, right? They'd never had that before. It's this wave of new programs attempting to bring digital nomads to come and spend a number of months in the country, often with explicit tax policies saying, hey, come here and live here for a few months a year, and you're not going to pay taxes. So that to me indicates really clearly that the governments and the people in the country who are electing those governments think that these people are contributing more than they are taking away. And I think this is really easy to understand when you understand the cost involved in supporting those people. So there's this idea of, okay, I'm a local, I'm paying all these taxes. You're not a local, you're not paying all these taxes. But there's also a very big difference in what you're getting from the government, right? So as somebody who is just visiting, okay, you benefit from roads, you benefit from policing, that's mainly it, right? Those are the main things that you benefit from. You don't get free healthcare, you don't get education, you don't get access to the court system from that legal standpoint. You often aren't getting benefits of property rights, right? If you look at a lot of these countries in Asia, foreigners can't own properties, at least not directly. Similar thing in various different other parts of the world. So you can kind of see how if we had the social securities, all of this stuff that normally costs a lot of money per person is being denied to digital nomads. And so should it be, right? We're not complaining here, etc. It's, hey, listen, I'm coming here, I'm participating, I'm not taking these benefits, but I'm also not paying as much. This is sort of a fair exchange, right? And what you'll notice with a lot of these things, like policing, especially national defense, roads, etc., is they're kind of a public good. What does this mean? It means they're non-rivalrous, and they're things that basically the amount of use they have doesn't scale with the cost, or the cost doesn't scale with the amount of use, rather. What does this mean? If I have a road, to some extent, it's best that I maximize the utilization of that road. If I'm going to have, an airport, generally I want to maximize the utilization of that airport. It doesn't cost me more to build that road because I have, 10 times more people on it, provided we don't exceed the capacity of the road, obviously. And because of this, it's actually a really good deal to attract more people to take advantage of that infrastructure because it generates more revenue per cost in these cases. And so I think generally speaking, it is a fallacy that digital nomads are freeloaders in some way, shape, or form. I do think, and there's a whole argument, I'll make another video in the future on it, that there could be some long-term consequences of digital nomads, both as individuals and what kind of is going on there, whether people are planning for the future, etc., as well as if you were to get too much of the structure of society being mobile, what that would mean in terms of building and establishment, etc. We'll see how that plays out. It's going to be kind of interesting. But of course, there is benefit to people building homes, right? And having a home base and investing themselves in a community. I've talked about this in some previous videos. Anyway, those are my thoughts. I would love to hear yours. Let me know in the comments below, and I'm going to look forward to seeing you on the next video.